There's a very, very high chance that you've never ever seen my face before, so let me quickly introduce myself.
Oh my god, yeah!
My name is Ryan, I live in the UK and I recently just turned 19 years old, and yes, on my birthday cake, that is a protein bar you see on my birthday cake, my mum had to support the gains. Thank you very much, mum. In the last almost 3.5 years, I have transformed my physique from this in 2021 weighing 51 kg to this in May 2024 weighing 71 kg. But I was at my heaviest at 75 kg and this is how I was looking. Before we get into this video, I want to share with you guys my background and how I actually got into the gym and hopefully relate a little bit with you guys. It all stems back to October 2020 when I was playing in a football match for my football team and I unfortunately broke my leg in the first 10 minutes of the game. Had my tibia out of place for a whole hour before the ambulance came and my whole leg was a mess. I completely messed it up. I had to go straight to hospital and I stayed in hospital for a few days and eventually I had my surgery and then I went back home and I could literally do absolutely nothing. That was my second leg break I had in 2 years, so I was mentally shattered, physically shattered. However, a few months down the line, my mum was being very funny and actually put her fingers around my bicep and just made a joke about me being skinny as a joke because she's a personal trainer and I'd assume that she wanted me to get into lifting some weights anyway. But I didn't take that lightly. I went into the garage, we had a few dumbbells, I started doing some bicep curls, I did a little bit of abs on the floor, so I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, and that's basically how it started. Now you guys know me and how I started and my background. Let's get into the video. Before we dive into these reasons, there is one thing you guys have to be. You have to be patient in your journey. I cannot reiterate this enough. Say it with me. I have to be patient in my journey, otherwise I won't achieve the dream physique I want. Bodybuilding and transforming your physique and yourself is a long-term game. You can't take shortcuts in this game. So many people get into the gym, loving it when they first start, but they don't see the progress they want, and then they give up. And that's because they just don't have the patience. So you must have patience, otherwise it won't work for you and you're simply just going to waste time. I'm going to dive into the first point which sort of links with that, because without patience you cannot build consistency, and that is my first point. You have to be consistent and you have to have discipline. As I said, results don't come to you overnight. They come to you as a reward of consistent hard work over time. You get rewarded for consistency and not inconsistency. Now I've explained to you why consistency in the gym and transforming your physique is so important. You're probably wondering how to stay consistent. The first one is obviously to create a schedule and to create a split and a routine. This is so important because if you have no idea what you're going to do, how on earth are you going to smash a session? And the second one is do what you want to do. Don't do something for the sake of, for example, Arnold saying you must do it, right? Do the exercises and do the split that works best for you and that you enjoy. Because if you do something that you don't enjoy, you won't want to show up to the gym. You won't want to stay consistent and you will be inconsistent. So do the stuff that you enjoy the most. Second important thing that I'd say that contributed to me transforming myself is perfecting my technique on exercises and my form and always looking to improve on it. Without perfect technique, you won't be stimulating your muscle properly. Think of it. If you're doing lying down hamstring curls, but you're using all your momentum and other body parts are coming into play to help the movement, then you're taking the isolation off the hamstring and you won't have as much stimulation, tension on the hamstring. Therefore, you're missing out on your gains. So it is so important that you have the knowledge of how to fully isolate the muscle during the path of movement on whatever exercise it is. Therefore, you're going to have more muscle stimulation. The weight of the machine or whatever it is will be completely loaded on the muscle you're trying to isolate, and you'll tear the muscle fibers in the muscle as much as possible, which is going to lead to muscle growth. Furthermore, the importance of perfecting your technique is that you maximize your chances of avoiding injury. It won't hurt to drop the weight, proper nail down on the technique and know what you're doing, than to lift 5 kg out of your means and you tear a pec, for example, and that puts you out for months and you end up losing your muscle, right? So just drop the weight and make sure you perfect your technique, because you don't want to risk yourself getting injured. And this also links to my next point on why perfecting technique is so important, is so you ensure your longevity in the gym. I'm assuming because you go to the gym, you want to be training for years and years and years and keep your body as healthy as you can. When you're in your 50s, you still want to be training. Perfecting your technique ensures that you have maximal longevity and you're giving your body as much time in the gym as you want it to. But if you're doing awful technique, you know, maximizing your chances of injury and putting your body under unneeded stress and, you know, messing up your joints in the process because you're not performing the technique correctly, there's chances that you won't be able to do the stuff you're doing now when you're, you know, when you're in your 30s. Now you're probably wondering ways to perfect your technique. Well, it's very, very simple. First of all, just do some research on it. There's so much out on the internet nowadays. YouTube videos, podcasts, books, they'll all be at your service to help you. The second thing is drop the weight. You need to let your ego go for a minute and just drop the weight, therefore obviously minimizing your chances of getting injured, and you get a better feel for the exercise, the path of the movement, how it actually should feel and how it should feel to stimulate the muscle properly without any other body parts coming into play helping the movement. And then after that you can work back on building up heavier, because once you've got the technique nailed down and you're lifting heavy weight plus perfect technique equals maximal gains, my friend. And obviously practice, and that goes along with consistency. The more you do something, the better you're going to get at it. So just keep going and you'll eventually get it. You won't get it the first time you do an exercise. For example, last week I started doing ab crunches on the floor with the rope behind the head for the first time. I put a little video up and my technique was not perfect the first time. So I searched up a YouTube video, watched it, and my technique was better straight away. So just give yourself some time and be patient, as I said earlier. Now, the third thing that I'd consider as so important to how I've transformed my physique is that I've immersed myself in the fitness world and around people in fitness, and I have like-minded people around me that like to go to the gym. I go to the gym with my best mates all the time, right? So my best mates, they're into the gym, they're into fitness, they're into, you know, bettering their life and self-improving and all of that stuff. And just immersing yourself into the fitness world in terms of watching videos, listening to podcasts, reading books. I haven't read this book yet, but my best mate gave me this book to read about Mike Mentzer. And if you don't know who Mike Mentzer is, he is a bodybuilder who competed in the golden era of bodybuilding, which was around the 1960s to the 1970s and a little bit of the 1980s, and that's sort of considered the golden era of bodybuilding. And he has a very interesting way of training, as it says in the title, high intensity training, and researching, gaining more and more knowledge about different types of training methods can help you so much. Therefore you can experiment, as I said earlier. If you're consistent, you can know what works for you. And if you're going to the gym all the time and you try all this different stuff, then you can finally knuckle down and nail down on what works perfectly for you. You can learn tips and tricks from pros. There's so much information out there now. As I said, it just gets your head in the game in terms of fitness. It always gets you thinking about what you can do better. If you can add something that you really like that you've seen from another guy on YouTube, for example, that you want to implement into your workouts, implement that into your workouts. But for example, if you're watching, you know, how to perform a spin throw in bowling or something like that, but you want to bodybuild, that won't help you at all in terms of bodybuilding. And it can teach you so much, it can educate you so much, and that can really contribute towards your gains. So I'd say immersing yourself in the fitness world and around all this information and around people that have the same interests as you is super important. You may be thinking, how and what should I immerse myself in terms of the fitness world, because the fitness world is huge. What I would suggest is obviously someone with a lot of knowledge who's done it all. For example, Dorian Yates, a 6-time Mr. Olympia champion, he has a lot to say. Arnold, he has a lot to say. People like that. Figure out what your... If my dog stops barking, I will explain. So, figure out your physique goals and the physique you want, your dream physique. For example, mine, okay, Mike Mentzer, obviously he was a crazy guy and he did a lot of steroids and I think probably meth. But I want to look at how he trains, because he's got an amazing physique, and I want to, read more into him, for example. So onto the other thing that you do outside the gym, taking care of your diet and perfecting your diet and improving your diet as much as possible. When you start the gym, that is obviously when you gain the most muscle from training, but that slowly drops off. If we could gain muscle at the same rate that we could at the start, then we'd literally all look like Ronnie Coleman and be as big as Ronnie Coleman. But it doesn't work like that. We all have natural and genetic potential. The gym can change your physique, right? But to a point, if you're not taking care of your diet, then you're going to feel shit physically because you're going to be gaining fat if you're not eating good foods. And mentally as well. If you're not taking care of your diet, you won't have good skin, you won't feel great all the time. It can negatively affect your hormones as well. So the importance of diet, it's been so important to me because feeding my body the right food has helped me so much. Before I benched 140 kg, which is 315 pounds, 3 plates if you're American or wherever, I literally benched 4 times 6 months prior to that. So that's just the power of the bulk and eating good food and training properly. Just can't reiterate the importance of diet in bodybuilding and fitness. And obviously though, you don't have to be strict in your diet 24/7. You can eat shit foods, especially if you're bulking, but if you're cutting, you've obviously got to be a little bit stricter and within your means. But that doesn't say eat shit foods all the time. Even when you're bulking and even when you're gaining weight, you still got to take care of your diet because you've got to think of the long term. This is what I say to everyone when they're like, how to bulk. You can eat loads of foods, you can be more free with your foods, you can have pizzas and burgers from time to time, but just don't have it excessively because you're going to put on so much fat. And then when it comes to when you've actually got to cut down the line, however long that may be after your bulk, you've probably got to eat less food in the future, which is going to be more mentally straining. You're going to have to do more cardio and you're going to have to do a lot more to burn off the fat, and it'll just be a longer and harder process for yourself. So you really need to embrace that delayed gratification and think of yourself in the future when you're bulking. So diet is super important. That's just what you need to know at the moment, the importance of diet and getting your protein in, your high protein, your carbs and your fats within your means, and they'll feed your muscles. Protein is the main thing that new people need to increase in their diet, because new people to the gym or people with bad diets in general don't consume much protein, and they don't have problems consuming things like carbs and fats and all that stuff, because that comes in foods that are actually pleasurable, and like fast foods, for example. You need to eat whole foods like chicken, red meats, eggs, all of that stuff, and that's where you get your protein and your healthy proteins. And the thing that proteins do in your body is they break down into things called amino acids, which help repair and rebuild cells in your body, which contribute towards, recovery. Now you're probably asking me how to perfect your diet. The main thing I could say is that if you struggle to stay disciplined, and for example, if you're a bad eater or you eat too much, for example, if you're trying to cut and you can't eat enough, or if you can't eat enough when you bulk, then track your food, my friend. The only thing that I would say about tracking food is that personally myself, I've never tracked my food. On the bulk, I've never tracked my food. I'm currently tracking my food on the cut, but I wouldn't really suggest tracking all of your food on the bulk. If you're unsure on how much you've eaten in a day and you're not too sure whether you've met your calorie goal, then track them. But don't get too fussed on calories, because if you are, then that can lead to demotivation and all of that stuff. And you don't want to get too wound up around calorie count. So don't do it excessively. And I'm going to say a few more things. So there are 3 different things that people diet for: a bulk, to maintain, and to cut. Out of those 3 things, if you're starting in the gym, or literally if you're watching this right now, you need to examine your body in the mirror and your body weight and think about which of those you need to diet for. If you're a skinny kid like me, then you have to bulk. There's loads of people that wonder why they're skinny and they've been going to the gym for ages. They feel like they're doing the right stuff, but they can't gain the weight. It's because they're not eating enough, consuming enough protein and all the good stuff they actually need. If you're slightly overweight and you're starting the gym, and you want to cut down your fat, then I'd suggest you hit a deficit. Or, depending on how much fat you have, maintain. Last thing that has been so important, I train hard. Compared to top pro bodybuilders, obviously I don't train hard because I'm not on the steroids, I'm not on the gear like them. I'm just a 19-year-old who just loves to go to the gym. But I also love to fucking push my limits, and I don't care if people train harder than me. I know that I'm training harder than I was the session before or the week before when I hit that muscle group last week, you know? I know and I want to get more reps than I did last week. I want to be better than my previous self all the time and strive towards the best version of myself. So I get past that mental barrier and I push past that pain barrier. As painful as the exercise is, I still keep going, and pain is temporary, okay? When you first start the gym, you obviously won't know how to push yourself. When I first started the gym, my intensity in my training was awful, but that's completely natural. It's like anything. You teach yourself and you get to know the more and more you go to the gym, how to train and how to train hard and how to train to failure and all of this stuff. The more you do it, the better you'll get at it. So the more you go to the gym, the better you'll get at training hard, and the harder you train and the more strain and stress you can put your body under. So now you're asking me how to train hard. The main thing I'd say is that you've... Okay, so I'm cutting back to the editing station because I just went off on a tangent and the first reason was just a bit stupid. A way to, like, trick your mind into being able to train hard and push past that mental barrier and stuff is think of something that annoys you. What I mean by that is be annoyed at, if you don't train hard in this set, you're literally nerfing yourself and nerfing your chances of becoming the best version of yourself. And think of how that version of yourself would feel if he saw you not pushing as hard as you could, leaving 1 or 2 more reps in the tank after the set. Another mindset thing that I think about is that I don't want to be worse than yesterday. I want to be better than yesterday. So why would I not want to push myself? Why would I not want to further strive towards the best version of myself? Another day goes by, another day that you've wasted, that you could have got closer to the best version of yourself. So why would you not want to push yourself and get closer and gain that leverage to the best version of yourself? In 5 years' time, if you're able to do this stuff, you will thank your past self because you've become the self that you've always wanted to become. Final thing I would say about pushing your limits and training hard is have people around you that do the same thing and want that for you. My 2 best mates, I don't show my gratitude to them enough. Like, I genuinely do really appreciate them, and I don't know if they're watching this video, but they know how to push me and I know how to push them, and it's such a good environment and atmosphere because we want the best for each other. We want to push each other to the absolute limits, and they're the type of people you've got to have around you, and they hold me so accountable, and I can imagine that I hold them accountable as well. And I forgot to just mention the most important thing about how to train hard, I'd say, is making sure you're getting enough rest. This is another huge mistake that people make when they start the gym. I made this as well, and it's very common to make it. But just please do yourself a favor and make sure you're getting enough rest, because that's actually when your muscles grow, because you allow them to recover and therefore they can grow and they're not under any stimulation. Therefore, you won't be as fatigued as often. Your muscles will be more recovered, so you'll be able to train harder. You're also putting yourself at less risk of injury, because think about it. That's why football players don't play football matches every day, because if they did that, they'd simply just get injured because they're not allowing their body to recover. And it's the same principle with muscles. You need to make sure your muscles are fully recovered before you train them again. To sum up the video, they are the main things that are so important to me, and as you may have noticed, as I have created some correlation between the points, they all compound, they all benefit each other. Staying consistent helps your technique, having a desire to learn helps you know about how to perfect your technique. Your diet and fueling your body right can help you train harder, and they all help each other. So that's the beauty of those reasons and why they're so important into how I've transformed my physique. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this and you've genuinely learned something. I hope this video is jam-packed with value that you guys are going to go away and use yourself, and I genuinely want to help people. So if you haven't already, please go and drop a sub, because I've got so much more valuable content ideas that are coming along the way throughout the summer. So I hope to see you guys around.